I've owned the Crossroads Diner for 11 years, and I've learned that the people who walk in thinking they own the room are usually the easiest to read. She came in on a Tuesday, late morning, after the breakfast rush before the lunch crowd. Black coat, heels that had no business on a cracked tile floor, a man in a gray suit trailing her like a shadow with a briefcase. She stood at the door for a moment and looked around the way people do when they're deciding whether something is worth their time. The booths, the counter, the chalkboard menu I'd written myself that morning. Her expression didn't change, but I saw the small curl at the corner of her mouth. My daughter Emma was refilling the coffee station. She's 17, works the counter on school-off days. She looked up, gave the woman a smile, and said, "Sit anywhere you like." The woman sat at the center booth, the one I can see clearly from the grill, and the man in the suit sat across from her and set the briefcase on the table. I came out from behind the counter myself. Emma raised an eyebrow. I just shook my head slightly and walked over. "What can I get you?" I said. She looked up at me. 50, maybe 55. A woman who had spent 20 years being the most powerful person in whatever room she entered. Her name, I already knew, was Renata Voss. She was the principal of Voss Development, the firm that had been quietly buying up the 3 blocks around me for the better part of 2 years. I'd been watching it happen. "Just coffee," she said. "Black." I poured it. She wrapped both hands around the mug and looked at me the way you look at a building you're about to tear down, measuring it, deciding where the first wall comes off. "You're the owner," she said. It wasn't a question. "I am. Thomas Garrett." "That's right." She nodded, as though something had been confirmed. Then she reached across to the man in the suit, and he opened the briefcase and slid a single sheet of paper and an envelope across the table to her. She set both in front of her, straightened them, and looked up at me again. "Mr. Garrett, I'll be direct. We're developing the entire corridor from 3rd to 6th. Your building is the last one we need. I've had it appraised." She tapped the sheet. "Fair market is 280. I'm prepared to offer you 400,000, clean close, 60 days. You'd walk away comfortable." She slid the envelope toward me. "There's a cashier's check inside for the earnest money. Consider it a gesture of good faith." The diner had gone quiet. The 2 men at the counter had stopped eating. Emma had stopped moving by the coffee station. I looked at the envelope. I didn't pick it up. "That's a generous offer," I said. She smiled. "I think so too. A place like this, it's a good living, I'm sure. But 400,000 lets you start over somewhere easier. Retire, even." She said the word retire the way you'd hand a man a gold watch and show him the door. My advice? Don't let sentiment cost you. I pulled the chair from the empty booth beside hers and sat down, which surprised her. She hadn't expected me to sit. I set my hands flat on the table, and I said, "Ms. Voss, I want to make sure I understand your position. You're developing the Alderman Corridor, the full 6-block stretch, under the Voss-Alderman Revitalization Project." A small flicker in her eyes. She hadn't expected me to know the project name. "That's correct." "Phase 2, I said. "The mixed-use tower on parcels 9 through 14. The man in the suit looked up from his phone. "You've done your homework," she said carefully. "I have." I slid the envelope back across the table. "I won't be selling." She blinked. Then that corporate composure returned, a degree cooler than before. "Mr. Garrett, I'd encourage you to think carefully. We can make this a very uncomfortable process if we need to." "I'm sure you could," I said. "But I don't think you will, and why is that?" I stood up, went behind the counter, and opened the drawer under the register, the one where I keep things I don't need every day but want close. I came back with a single folded document and set it on the table in front of her. She looked at it. She didn't open it. "Go ahead," I said. She opened it. It was a 2-page agreement, the kind that gets filed and forgotten until it matters. She read the first paragraph. Then she read it again. Her eyes moved to the signature block at the bottom, then to the notary stamp, then to the date. 3 years ago. Her face didn't change, but the man in the suit leaned over, and I watched him read it too, and the color left his face a little faster than it left hers. The document was a majority interest agreement on the Alderman Corridor Land Trust, the financial vehicle her firm had used to consolidate parcels 9 through 14. She'd needed a silent backer 3 years ago when her liquidity was stretched after the Harmon Street deal went sideways. Her CFO had found one through a private equity channel. The backer had asked for 42%, no board seat, no visibility, just a signature and a quarterly statement. That backer was me, not the diner, the man who owned the diner, and a few other things she hadn't thought to look into. She set the document down. The coffee in her mug had gone still. "You're the Garrett Group," she said. It came out quieter than anything she'd said so far. "I am." She sat with that for a moment. The 2 men at the counter had long since stopped pretending not to listen. Emma was watching from the coffee station with an expression I recognized, The same one she used to give me when she was 9 and figured out I'd known the answer all along. Why didn't you? Renata Voss stopped herself, started again. You've been receiving statements for 3 years. You knew we were buying this corridor. I did. You knew we'd come here eventually. I expected it around now, yes. She looked at the envelope still sitting on the table between us. Then she looked at me, really looked, maybe for the first time since she'd walked in. So this whole time, the counter, the grill, the diner. I like this diner, I said. I built it for my wife before she passed. Emma grew up in that back booth doing her homework. I'm not sentimental about money, Ms. Voss, but I am sentimental about this. I pulled the document back and folded it. The good news is you don't need this building. Your tower footprint works without Parcel 8. Your own architect said so in the Phase 2 feasibility study. Page 31. She stared at me. You read our feasibility study. You send it to your silent partner. Standard reporting. The man in the suit quietly closed the briefcase. Renata Voss looked out the window at 3rd Street for a long moment. The morning light came in low and crossed the table between us. When she turned back, something had shifted in her. Not broken, just recalibrated. She was a smart woman. Smart people, I've found, can make the turn when the facts demand it. The Alderman Project, she said slowly, with a 42% partner who has read every document and chosen to say nothing for 3 years. I'm at a disadvantage I didn't know I had. You're not at a disadvantage, I said. You're in business with someone who wants the project to succeed. I've never had any interest in obstructing it. I just have an interest in this building staying where it is. She was quiet again. Then, very precisely, she picked the envelope with the cashier's check and put it back in the briefcase herself. I owe you a better conversation, she said. One where I walk in knowing who I'm talking to. You can have that conversation anytime, I said. I'll put on a fresh pot. She almost smiled. It wasn't the corporate smile she'd come in with. It was smaller and real. She stood, straightened her coat, and looked at Emma at the counter. Good coffee, she told my daughter. Emma nodded. He taught me. They left. The bell above the door rang once, and the diner settled back into itself. The low hum of the refrigeration, the 2 men at the counter quietly resuming their eggs, the morning light still moving across the floor. Emma brought the coffee pot over and topped off my mug without a word. Then she sat on the stool beside me, the way she's done since she was small, and looked at the door. Did you know she was coming today, she asked. I had a feeling, I said. She thought about that. Were you nervous? I looked around at the booths, the chalkboard, the counter where her mother used to sit and read on slow afternoons. Not even a little, I said. She leaned her head against my shoulder for just a moment the way she still does. Sometimes, when she thinks I won't notice. I noticed. I always do.